Hi, I'm Steve Freeman, Chief Procurement Officer at Chevron, and I'm proud to introduce today's keynote speaker, Barb Smith, the President and Majority Owner of Journey Steel. You may remember Barb and her incredible story from last year's conference when I had the distinct pleasure of presenting her with the 2021 Chevron Dorothy A. Terrell Community Impact Award, recognizing her company's extraordinary commitments to both doing well and doing good. Established in 2009, Journey Steel is a Cincinnati-based steel fabrication and erection firm that's gone above and beyond when it comes to its tagline, "We build and support dreams." Journey Steel directs 10% of its profits to community impact programs, and under Barb's leadership, the company has launched an advanced nonprofit arm with a mentorship program that trains and employs local high school graduates in the field of ironworking. Barb is a lifelong learner, getting her start in the Cincinnati public schools and continuing her education at Eastern Michigan University. And it only gets better from here. She's also an alumna of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses Program, a member of ICIC's inaugural Building for Growth construction cohort, a graduate of the Urban League of Greater Cincinnati's African American Business Development Program, and a participant in the SBA Emerging Leaders class. Active in the community, Ms. Smith sits on numerous advisory boards, including the Urban League of Southwest Ohio, Journey's Soaring Impact, and the Reds Community Fund, which as a Houston Astros fan, I won't hold against her. Journey Steel has been recognized many times for its leadership and community engagement work, including as a 4-time Inner City 100 winner. Ms. Smith is also a recipient of the 2016 Journey Award for Economic Empowerment and Entrepreneurship, and was named a member of the 2017 Class of Women Who Mean Business. Barb is active in her local church and is the proud mother of 2 young men and the grandmother of 1 awesome grandson. I'm so excited for you to learn more about Barb and her impressive entrepreneurial journey. So please join me in welcoming Barb Smith.
I want to thank you, Steve, for the wonderful introduction, and ICIC for entrusting me to speak to their powerful community. I don't take this honor lightly and trust that our time together will be meaningful, encouraging, enjoyable, and engaging. As you have already heard, my name is Barb Smith, President of Journey Steel. And today I want to share my journey, pun intended. Journey Steel is a 13-year-old self-performing steel fabrication and erection company, doing both structural and miscellaneous steel. Beams, columns, joists, decks, stairs, railings, platforms, decking, and now drones. We are headquartered in Cincinnati, Ohio. Cincinnati, Ohio is where I was born and raised. I am a baby of 8 children, 7 girls and 1 boy. I was born on my sister's 4th birthday, ruined her birthday party, needless to say, and 56 years later, I still hear about it. My one brother, who is 13 years older than me, is probably a big part of the reason I went into construction, as he made me the little brother he never had. My middle name is Joe, but to my brother, I was just Joe. To this day, I don't think he knows my first name is actually Barb. He still calls me Joe and introduces me as Joe to his friends. He encouraged me to play with trucks instead of the dolls my parents got me. He greeted me with a pop in the head or arm or whatever body part that apparently was always in his way as he walked by. He taught me how to take abuse, although back then he called it playing with me, and to keep smiling about that abuse. A skill I learned at an early age and find it quite useful in the field of construction today. Take abuse and keep smiling. Thanks, Butch. When I was in the 10th grade, the United States EPA and the University of Cincinnati were trying to recruit minorities into the engineering field. So they identified students that were good in math and science and provided summer employment working with EPA engineers. I was fortunate enough to be one of the young people selected. I worked with chemical engineers, civil engineers, and environmental engineers during what ended up being 4 summers in that program. Because of that program, I decided I would be an engineer. After all, that was the path I apparently was supposed to be taking. Because of my older siblings, however, I did not go or consider the University of Cincinnati. Not because it wasn't a great school. 2 of my siblings actually graduated from UC, but because it was 5 minutes from where I lived. They told me to go away to college so I could grow up, go far enough where I couldn't come home every weekend, but not too far where I couldn't get home if I needed to. So I narrowed my choices down to 4 universities that offered engineering: Purdue, University of Dayton, Case Western, and Eastern Michigan University. I applied to Eastern Michigan University first because they had no application fee and I was paying for college myself. Baby of 8 children, middle-class family, making too much money on paper to get financial aid, but not enough to pay for a college education for child number 8. I got accepted at Eastern Michigan University within a week and never applied to my other 3 choices, even though EMU was my 4th choice. And the only made it on my list because I saw a billboard one day while driving on the expressway that said, Ohio residents pay in-state tuition, apply today. So I did. EMU gave me a partial scholarship and the in-state tuition made it affordable. So obviously, this is where I was supposed to go to school. When I got to college, I declared my major right away. Didn't have the funds to waste on classes that would not go toward my degree, and Michigan was cold. I wasn't trying to spend any extra time in that weather. The first sweatshirt I bought said, Michigan has 4 seasons: early winter, midwinter, winter, and late winter. That sweatshirt read the truth and holds true to today. But I digress. Again, all I knew is that I was supposed to be an engineer. But as you know, there are many types of engineers. And although Eastern Michigan offered engineering, once I got there, I was told 4 of their programs I could complete at Eastern Michigan. The others, I would have to do 3 years there and 2 years somewhere else, which was not an option for me in my mind. So I asked which 4 programs did I have to choose from. They told me agricultural engineering, plastics engineering, computer-aided design, and industrial technology with a construction specialty. Although I was pretty much a tomboy growing up, thanks to my brother, I didn't like dirt under my nails, so I ruled out agricultural right away. Now, this was 1984, so with my great vision and foresight, I knew computers were just a fad, so computer-aided design was ruled out too. So it came down to plastics and industrial technology. The counselor told me that there were only 4 Blacks and 2 females in the whole industrial technology school. So that sealed it. That was the school for me. Because of being a baby of 8, the movie Home Alone sort of stuck with me. I never wanted to be left behind, so I always tried to make sure my presence was known wherever I was. So I figured I would stand out in this school. So my journey into construction was officially underway. I completed my Bachelor of Science in Industrial Technology with a construction specialty in 4 years. I carried over 19 to 21 credit hours each semester to ensure this would happen. Did I mention that Michigan was cold and I was the baby of 8? I wanted to get back home. Now, although I co-opted with Barb Mallow out of Southfield, Michigan, at the time, which was one of the 3 largest construction companies in Michigan, I got to work on the National Bank of Detroit, a 20-story building, if I remember correctly, a very high-profile and amazing project, but I still wanted to return to Cincinnati. Now, while co-oping with Barb Mallow, I got to ride the headache ball up to the top level. Safety wasn't as big of a deal in 1987 as it is today. I got to hold the measuring rod on the 2-foot wide beam, 20 stories up in the air. I also got to hold that same rod 4 stories below grade into what would be the parking structure. And believe it or not, that was more unnerving than riding that headache ball up 20 stories. I share these details because this experience was the beginning of my understanding that I would be challenged in this white male dominated industry, and I would not be able to let them see me sweat. Now, truthfully, I think I was asked to do these tasks because I was a co-op, not because I was a Black female. But as my career continued, my gender and race did play a significant role. But thanks to my dad, I was prepared for the challenges. My dad was born in 1918 and faced much adversity, but he taught all of his children to be true to ourselves, to not have a bitter bone in our bodies because of how others may treat or view us. He told us, so what if we were going to have to work harder to be accepted? It would make us better. I could share many stories of things my dad had to face. The time won't allow me to truly do my dad's character justice. But just know, I was a daddy's girl, and I hung on his every word. And because of him, I am standing here today. I digressed again. Sorry about that. I was speaking about returning to Cincinnati after 4 years in Ypsilanti, Michigan, home of Eastern Michigan University. I began my career with general contractors and architectural and engineering firms in 1988, hired on as an estimator and field engineer. I was known as BJ because my supervisor knew I wouldn't be taken seriously as a young Black female in this industry. So because I had a deep voice, I was often mistaken as being a male, especially since I was in construction. Males were expected to be on the other end of the phone when we called. He also told me to sign my letters as BJ, so that by the time I actually had to meet contractors face to face, I had gained their respect as someone who knew what they were doing based on the phone conversations and letters. It worked out too, as it never failed. When I would go to the job site or meetings and introduce myself, the response was always, "You're BJ?" Now, I also was aware I was being paid less than my male counterparts, but I still worked harder, as my father taught me, and became the best estimator and field engineer those companies had. I was also overlooked for promotions, although I was the best candidate. But because I was a young Black female, they felt they couldn't put someone who looked like me in front of the owners of major corporations. This would continue for 25 years with no change in sight, which is why Journey Steel Inc. was born. My business partner, Tom Garden, was one of the first subcontractors I met in 1988. We became friends and remained friends throughout my 25-year career with general contractors and architectural and engineering firms. Through those 25 years, we often talked about going into business together. But I didn't marry right. I got 2 beautiful boys out of that marriage, so I have no regrets. But I was a single mom, and starting a business wasn't in the cards when 2 little mouths depended on me for everything. Tom did start his own business, and we continued to be friends and actually grew into really being more like family. In 2008, when the economy was beginning to change, Tom knew it would be tough to continue on with his business. Now my sons were older, so the talks began again about going into business together. And after 15 years with my current employer, and I was once again training the person who would be promoted over me because he looked the way senior management was supposed to look, Tom and I decided it was time to start this journey we have been talking about for all these years, and thus the name of the company was birthed. I needed to be the change I wanted to see in the industry I chose and loved. I needed a seat and a voice at the table. For you Hamilton fans, I needed to be in the room where it happened. The new journey, however, continued to be a series of challenges. Not that I expected anything less, but the difference now is I was in a position to bring about change. One of the things Journey has been able to do is impact our community with a nonprofit arm called Journey's Soaring Impact. We hire inner city high school seniors the summer after their junior year. We keep them throughout their senior year. Now, this is a paid on-the-job training program birthed out of the need for diversity and youth in the construction industry. The average age of a construction worker in 2016, which is when Journey Soaring Impact was birthed, was 53. And there was only 3% diversity in union ironworkers all across the United States. My business partner and I wanted to give back to our community, and this program addressed both the need in the construction industry, specifically the trade of ironworker, and also our desire and passion to directly impact the community in which we worked, played, and lived. We specifically target inner city high school seniors who would graduate with a 2.0 or lower GPA, who wouldn't go to college for one reason or another, grades, desire, or price. We bring them in the summer before their senior year, pay them 40% of union journeyman scale, which is about $12 to $14 per hour. We have a retired ironworker who came out of retirement just for this program to give them hands-on training. We teach them soft skills as well as provide tutoring where needed, as most of our students come to us not able to add a quarter and a quarter and know that that's a half, which would make them unemployable upon graduation for most industries. We teach them financial literacy, have them take 10% of their take-home pay and put it in a separate account. And if they don't touch it for the duration of the program, we match it. Normally that's about $1,100, which gives them a nice down payment on a good used car, as we work with a local car dealer to make sure this happens, so that they have dependable transportation to get back and forth to work upon graduating from our program. Although we started this program to create union ironworkers, helping our own workforce and industry, quickly we learned it wasn't about us, it was about these young people and breaking the cycle of life that they were accustomed to, and teaching them how to dream again, to be whatever it is they wanted to be. Personally, of course, I don't understand why anyone would not want to be an iron worker, but it does happen. We actually changed our tagline from Journey Steel, with us, the destination is success, with a globe as our logo, to Journey Steel, we build and support dreams, with a globe and a strong man in the middle. Because we know that giving these young people the freedom to identify their true passion, help them to understand that if they work hard at anything is achievable. And that they have our support for life to help them make it, whatever that it may be. Our vision is to take our program all across the United States, put it in every major city, catching these young people before they graduate high school and become unemployable, and perhaps even start down a path of destruction. Giving them a dream, knowing that a person with hope and a dream is the type of citizen we need across the country to create change, to create wealth, to create an inclusive nation where everyone matters. Our goal is to change the world one young person at a time. Now I would like to share this video of the graduation of one of our young people who had no clue what he was going to do upon graduating high school. I hope you enjoy this.
17-year-old Stephen Rogers wasn't convinced being an iron worker was for him, but learning about the trade as part of Journey Steel's Soaring Impact program changed his mind.
First, it was the welding and cutting steel and sparks flying everywhere. It just excites me.
Now he sees the bigger picture.
Well, I'll be set for life.
That's the idea. Journey Steel president Barb Smith says the company started Journey's Soaring Impact in 2016 to introduce urban youth to careers in construction and help increase diversity in the trades.
And we target those that may not go to college for one reason or another, and then we expose them to a career path that, again, they may not have considered. And by doing that, we want them to dream again, to just say, you know, what is it that you would really want to be?
Then Smith and her partner Tom Garten honor the program's graduates with ceremonies like this. Dozens of honored guests, including former Reds great George Foster, in Roselawn to celebrate Stephen as the lone 2019 graduate of the program. An emotional day for Stephen's dad, Stephen Rogers Sr.
I couldn't believe it. I didn't know like all these people cared, but obviously they do.
Journey Steel paid Stephen $11.85 an hour during his pre-apprenticeship. Garten gave him a check for another $1,100 during the graduation ceremony because of the portion of his pay that Stephen saved along the way.
It was more than enough. I got the point.
Thanks to Soaring Impact and Stephen's hard work, he also has a career for life. Lucy May, 9 on your side.
This young man at 21 years old is now a third-year apprentice with an all-in compensation package close to $100,000. Next year, when he becomes a journeyman, his package will be over $125,000. He has his own apartment, car, and helps his family. My journey allowed me to experience firsthand things that need to change for all. That is why I needed a seat at the table. Not so that I could get back, but so that I could open the door to the room where it happens to everyone who wants to get in and make change for the better. I want more stories like Steve. This is why we do what we do. This is why I'm here, and this is why failure is not an option. No matter what the hurdle, no matter what the challenge is, I am committed to making sure that there will be many more Steves all across the United States. Thank you guys for your time, for listening to my story, and hopefully you got something that you can take on your journey.
So talk about doing well, doing good, and now feeling good. I feel great watching that. Barb, you are such an inspiration. Thank you so much for joining us for this Q&A. I just want to say you exemplify entrepreneurism in every sense of the word, from addressing a market need to leading and making a positive impact in our society. And on that note, I also want to congratulate you on your most recent and well-deserved recognition, the 2022 We Are Making Black History Award from the Cincinnati U.S. Regional Chamber. So congratulations and welcome.
Thank you so much, Anne-Marie. Appreciate it.
And I just want to let the audience know this award is so special. They recognize 7 Black leaders living and working in the region and creating legacies today. So these are leaders who are going the extra mile for their community, excelling in their fields and opening doors for future leaders. And that's really, I think, what I was most struck by. So audience, this is your chance to ask your questions. All you need to do is post them in the chat. Barb, we'll start off with a couple of fun questions. One, what is that collection behind you there?
The collection behind me are my babies. These are my bobbleheads. As Steve said in the introduction, yes, I'm a Reds fan, and I rooted for Houston, though, Steve, just so you know. He was a Reds coach first, so a manager first. But these are my bobbleheads. My dad raised me on baseball. I've been a baseball fan my whole life. I bleed red. The greatest 8 players that ever took the field at one time are the 1975-76 Cincinnati Reds. That's the centerpiece there. But these are my babies. No one's allowed to touch them but me. But those are my babies.
And I love the red. Right. There's red all over. It's just a beautiful collection. I'm sure our Steve Grossman appreciates that too. He's also a baseball fan. So Barb, what struck me most in your journey is the pivotal point that led you to entrepreneurship. You had basically checked all the boxes during your career. You excelled at your role, yet you were still being overlooked for advancement because of biases in the field. In your experience, how has the construction field improved for women and professionals of color? And what changes are you excited about on the horizon?
Okay. As I talked about in my journey, there has been a lot of changes for females and minorities in the construction industry, but there is still so much more to do. You will find more females in the senior management. You will find females being able to have a seat at the table and have that serious talk and be taken seriously, but it's still a challenge. I mean, it's not like everyone is opening their arms and saying, come on in and we accept you. It has to happen on a person by person, a company by company basis. So I am excited, however, that the awareness is there. There are more females and minorities in the industry that, you know, we're not going to be denied. We're not going anywhere. So the acceptance has to happen, and it has to start pretty much like our nonprofit. You know, you have to start one person at a time. So I am excited that the awareness is out there. I'm excited about organizations like ICIC that keep pushing. So I'm excited to know that change can happen, and it has to start with one person at a time.
Absolutely. And anything that you're really excited about that's taking place maybe in the next year or so in construction?
I'm We've actually also started, which I didn't allude to that, drone technology. So I'm excited that the construction industry is becoming more technical, even though, again, computers were a fad for me. But it's more like the Flintstones are meeting the Jetsons now. And so we're getting on board, and we actually have a drone division. So I'm excited about the changes happening in construction, knowing that brick and mortar is not going to be the mainstay per se, with all of the stay at home and the hybrid with COVID and different things. I'm excited that construction is integrating with the technology industry, and that's opening doors for not only diversity with women, but young people, the people that aren't like me, that aren't the Flintstones, that the Jetsons will have more space in the construction industry to keep this industry relevant. I mean, construction will always happen, but it is a changing field. So I'm excited about where construction is going. And the inclusiveness, not only for diversity, but the integration of technology in it.
That is very exciting. The innovation and like you said, the different generations that can now participate in construction. Very, very exciting. And now you did allude to this a little bit. Your Journey Soaring Impact program is incredible. I mean, it's smart. It's a workforce development program that is also building a pool of skilled professionals. I think that's a brilliant talent strategy, especially as we see a lot of, labor shortages in so many different industries. But this is also about creating an equitable pathway for often economically vulnerable individuals. Yes. What advice might you have for business owners who want to create these types of social impact initiatives? How do they go from that desire to operationalizing a program?
My advice would be, you have to be intentional. You have to set the roadmap. You have to have the goal, and it has to be a passion. I mean, this was not an easy program. It's not easy. Half the time I don't even want to deal with my kids, let alone dealing with someone else's on a day-to-day basis. So you have to have the intentionality. And my advice would be, it is a need. It's a responsibility, even for those of us that have our own businesses and have the capability to lift as we climb. So I would definitely recommend that anyone that's interested in developing programs such as Journey Soaring Impact, that they're intentional about it, that they do the research, they recognize their goals, they stay true to that. One thing that I will say that we have done that probably is, everyone's in business to make money. That's the bottom line there. But our other passion is not just making wealth for ourselves, but creating that wealth for other people, because again, we're all in this together. So there's no guarantee of a return on our investment within our industry. That's the one thing about our program that sort of makes us a little different. We invest in the young people. We teach them what we know in hopes that we will create that iron worker, but we changed it. We build and support dreams. But, and for that reason, our success is the success of those young people, and not per se bringing them into the workforce, which was our initial reason for doing it. So my advice would be, for those that want to start a program, that want to create their own workforce development, you're going to have a little bit more work. You're going to have to identify that the young people, or the second chance adults, even anyone that you're trying to build a workforce with, that they're aligning their passion with what you have. And that's something that we do with our young people. And we find out if they don't want to do this, we help them. But my advice would be, go in it knowing that you have to do more screening, but you also have to be committed to it and be willing to know that at the end of the day, your return on investment may not be there. And is that something that you really want to do? Which I think is
that you're okay with.
Yes.
It's the long game. It sounds like a baseball game.
Yes. I love it. Yeah.
Well, on that note, the intentionality piece, and I think the commitment to staying focused on what you want to do. This question from Marcel Folk is, I think, a really good one. How do you manage the day-to-day, the ups and downs, when you're having a bad day or facing a hard time with your business? Do you have any tips or tricks on getting through that?
Pray, and pray. But that is, I mean, I seriously do a lot of praying, but it's that mindset. And there's another quote that I actually have that I keep in front of me that says, courage doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's that little small voice at the end of the day that says, I will try again tomorrow. So failure is not an option. When I have those down days, which there are many, when I have those days, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to play. I don't want to do this. I have to remember, though, what is my pie in the sky? What's my blue sky? Why did I start this to begin with? And the road was never promised to be easy. And the race is never it's not just given to the swift, but it's given to the strong, the one that wants to endure to the end. So my advice would be brush yourself off. Know that, 24 hours is going to pass. And in the morning, you're going to get up and you're going to try again. Do whatever you can do to make it through the day, but know that I'm going to try again. I'm going to continue to roar tomorrow.
Leave it to the higher power, and then also brush yourself off and keep going. Yeah. I love that. So there are things that obviously we can't control, whether it's life, business, whatever the situation is. And then other things that you do build with intentionality. How do you build a culture where Black women could thrive within your company? And what are the current hurdles with your business's culture that you're addressing now? And that's a question from Chantel Todman.
Excellent question. One thing with the culture, I'll address that part first. Again, it's that awareness, it's the openness, it's the communication, it's the intentionality. To whom much is given, much is required. And being a Black and female in this industry, we have to be intentional to make sure that there are people that look like us in this industry, in the positions that matter. So it's an intentionality, and it's not just, of course, with any business, you have to have qualified individuals, because again, we're in business to make money, to succeed, to be here for generations to come. So with that, the intentionality of the hiring process, but then the intentionality of the training. If you can't find someone that you're looking for that looks different, but what are you doing then to help to create that pool? That's part of the Journey Soaring Impact, program there. So it's the intentionality, to make sure that we want our culture to be inclusive. And so what are we doing to welcome that? What are we doing to train? You may not be able to hire at that position, but that you can start, if they're answering the phone or what have you, the longevity of it to create the person that you're desiring to create. And then knowing that we're all in this together within the company, and we're all going to help that continuous improvement, which is what we do at Journey as well, hiring at entry level. Another thing with small companies, and I'm sure some of you may be experiencing the same thing, it's hard to compete with the pay and the benefits if you're a small company. So you have to have that strategic look of, if I'm getting the entry level, how do I bring them up to speed? And with that intentionality there. And I'm sorry, Anne Marie, I was rattling on. I answered one part. What was the second part of that?
No, I think that's great. It's how do you build that culture, and how do you ensure that actually, I think that's the full question. And this next one is a little bit of a reflection question, kind of tied to that. There are two questions I think that go together here. The first is, what would you say to your 25-year-old self if you had the chance in regards to your career and professional development? And then two, what's been the most memorable moment in your career? And that's a question from Maria Gonzalez.
What I would say to my 25-year-old self is just do it. That's always been my motto. To have no regrets, to leave nothing on the table, just do it. If you have something in mind, you have that, again, going back to we build and support dreams. That's coming from inside, dream, just do it, go for it, and be willing to work hard to make sure that it happens. And probably one of the most pivotal points in my career, and I'm going to say it's the reason why Journey started. After being in the industry for over 25 years, and one of the firms I was at, which I loved, everywhere I worked, I thank God I love the people, and I understood it's their business. But when I was training my replacement once again, and there was this novel idea that came out that I actually had 15 years prior, but now someone else said it and all of a sudden it was heard. That was the pivotal point that, you know, if change is going to happen, I have to be part of the change that I want to see. And that took away my comfort level. I was a single mom with two young men at the time, but I was still a single mom. And I'm like, I need to take this leap. I need to be the change I want to see. Insanity is doing the same thing, expecting different results. And so that was probably the pivotal moment that things are not going to change unless someone is going to make sure that that's going to happen. And I wanted to be one of those people that was going to make sure change was going to happen.
And that really came from within, right? The motivation and the perseverance to push through. I'm sure it was really tough to think of one moment in your career. I'm sure there are so many more. I'm curious about the mentorship that you may have reflected on through those moments. I know that your business partner was a big piece of the decision and moving forward, but any memorable mentorship or mentors in your life and your career that you could think of?
Actually, not before starting Journey. Really, again, baby of 8. I had plenty of families. I had plenty of advice being given to me, but I love my parents. I love the fact that I was the baby. As I mentioned, my dad was born in 1918. As he always said, he had a young woman. My mom was born in 1928. So I was raised by, older parents. And so the wisdom that they had, the wisdom of my siblings with me being the youngest, they were really my mentors. They've made the mistakes in life. They did this, one of the things, get away, go to school, So I just listened to my family because I knew they loved me and I knew they wanted what was best for me. So those were really my mentors to make me who I was. And once Journey got started, the advocacy in Cincinnati, Ohio, I can speak to that for small and minority and women-owned businesses, is just phenomenal. So I've picked up mentors along the way that were advocates for women, that were advocates for minority, that were advocates for small business, and really just making sure I was never the smartest person in the room, that I was always a sponge and always willing to learn. And that's one piece of advice that also with my 25-year-old self, get all that you can get and never think that you're the smartest one, because you're not. And or at least you don't want to be the smartest one in the room, that you can learn from any and everybody. And so be open, be that sponge, take the good, get rid of the bad, learn from your experiences, your mistakes, your successes, and just be all that you can be. So my mentors have been just along the way. I can't pinpoint just one person, but throughout my life, I've been fortunate to have people that love me and have supported me and encouraged me to, dream big and work hard, and the sky's the limit.
Oh, great advice. And I want to give a special shout out to Butch for mentoring Joe very early on.
One brother, yes.
I think we have time for maybe one more question. This is a comment. Love that you support and invest in young people. Are there any qualities that you look for in them that help with the success of the program?
I would think the biggest thing is their teachability. That's all we look for. We don't require a lot. We just require someone that has a passion, or at least an ear to hear.
All right. Well, I think I may be having some technical glitches on my end. I'm not quite sure. But if I am live, Barb, I want to thank you again for your time, for being such an inspiration, for being a true leader in our community, and also for sharing all these words of wisdom. We cannot wait to hear updates from you in 2023 and beyond. Thank you so much, Barb.